There we go. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Yeah, my name is Paraskevas. I'm the co-composer on Agatha All Along.
Perfect. And I'm Mary Gillespie. I'm with Spewed and Reviewed out of Phoenix, Arizona. And this is my daughter, Sarah.
Nice to meet you.
So I have a couple of questions for you here. When you begin a new project, what is your initial approach to developing the thematic core?
Yeah, I think new project, we're just diving straight into the story and trying to understand like who the characters are and what their motivations are, and that really sort of informs you, like us as creators, like what the music should be. And with Agatha, Chris and I previously worked on WandaVision, so we already had some familiarity in that regard. But we wanted to now, like, we're taking a close up of Agatha, and like where previously she's just this villain, this more like one-dimensional character. Now we're trying to like dive deeper into her layers and really unpack who she is and who her trauma is and her her struggles and like relating to other people as this social outcast. And so we are able to sort of take this familiarity and now find a way to transform it and develop it into a unique and a newer, a fresher way.
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome. Can you walk us through your typical workflow plot? Okay, I'm going to start over.
No, you're good.
Apparently I can't speak. Can you walk us through your typical workflow for a project like Agatha All Along? How did you collaborate with the showrunners, and how do you maintain your creative vision throughout the project?
Yeah, I think working on several Marvel projects now, like there's already, we're getting immersed into this universe that already exists, and I think that's a helpful starting point. And then then we read the scripts as they're filming everything and editing together, and start pitching different ideas for like the sound palette or writing specific themes for different characters. And so we have an idea of like the full arc of the story and kind of work backwards. And so we know where Agatha is ending up on this journey. We know Billy's like true identity. We know Rio's identity and like her relationship with Agatha, and understanding all that, then like we sort of go to the beginning and are able to like trace like little seeds here and there that each character's themes represents something specific about their journey, and so then as the show progresses and the audience becomes more familiar with these characters and with their sonic identity, it's almost like a costume. It's something that becomes a part of them that's recognizable, and that sort of transforms in the same way that they're going through their journey.
What drew you to this?
I think my dad's a music teacher, so I always
kind of in the blood.
Yeah, it's I always sometimes joke like I speak music better than I do English, and like, are you a musician too?
Oh, no,
yeah.
She speaks in the
Oh, cool. Yeah. So it becomes it's something to grow up with, and just becomes just a natural part of how I interact with the world. And I think eventually I got to a point where I was like, I can't imagine not doing this and like just creating stories and collaborating with other people. And I think obviously this is where it happens. So
right, exactly. What are some of your favorite projects you've
worked on? One of my favorite projects was with my mentor Chris, who we collaborated on Agatha, worked with him on Frozen 2. And that was sort of a dream come true, growing up on the Disney animated musicals, and getting to, I got to go to Norway to record a choir there. And like, the choir that opens up with the na, na, na. Yeah, and so getting to do that, and we got to record with like a 90-piece orchestra, which is they're the biggest group I've ever worked with. And I think just getting the opportunity to do that, and I still see people like wearing Elsa costumes, and just how much seeing how much that resonates with people, and just getting to be like a small part of that is something really special.
That is definitely very special. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That's really cool. What kind of advice would you give to people wanting to break into this field?
Yeah, I think good advice is, it just takes a lot of patience, a lot of perseverance, and it's a really challenging industry, and like there's so many ups and downs and so many unexpected things, and like even like we had like COVID, we had the strikes, we had the fires this year, and it's like there's always something that's will make things difficult. But I think you find that in any sort of creative industry, you hope to find this. There's a lot of people in the same boat as you, and you try to find collaborators that you can trust and support each other. And I think you finding that tight-knit community, or finding a mentor like I have with Chris, and finding people that are able to support you, because it's there's so many things out there, and it's easier now than ever to like post stuff online and TikTok and YouTube and all that, but in order to like stand out and like to grow and like connect with your audience, you need to find that community and that support.
Do you find it difficult with projects like people have such a connection, like the Marvel movies to Frozen, like things like that? Do you find it difficult to like get into that headspace and make sure that it's like as true as you can get it to what people already know about those projects when you're composing music?
Yeah, I think each project has so I think especially these like more established IP and worlds, there's certain like expectations that I think audiences have, but I think at the same time, like with Agatha is a really good example of like we quickly learned like we had to get away from the traditional like superhero sound, and that was something that like we tried at first and like it didn't work. Like that's not her character is, and I think as you find whatever seems right for that story and for those people, and with like Agatha, like we took away the like French horns and trumpets and instruments that are traditionally associated with superheroes, because it's not a traditional superhero story, and trying to subvert like what that sound is, and found that like that's who she is, and that's what works for telling her story. And so I think each story has like its own sort of question of like what that is, and I think that's the fun part of being creative, is like you're in the sandbox like digging through it, and then like you're like I eventually reach a point, you're like, aha, I found it, like this is it, like and it's this sort of this exploration, this archaeological dig.
Well, I don't have any more questions for you. We appreciate you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much.
We appreciate it. It's not easy without it. So.
Well, thank y'all for being here and for doing this. Yeah, you too. Take care. Hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.